All right, so I see we have questions about how long the webinar will be. It won't be exceeding 30 minutes. Our goal is 20 minutes. But if you have to drop off, you will receive a recording, and I'm just gonna, hand everything off to the presenters now. So thanks for joining us, and let us know if you have any questions at any time.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Ebony. Ebony, as she said, we'll be taking questions via chat that we will answer at the very end of our webinar this evening. I am in admissions with the Master's in Psychology program offered at Divine Mercy University, and I'll be introducing Dr. Anna Pecoraro in just a few moments when she takes over her part of our webinar this evening. Just a couple of things that I'd like to make note of. There are people on here from all walks of life for all different reasons, and we're delighted. Why you're listening in could be as just as gathering some information, you're a lifelong learner, or you may be actually looking at a master's in psychology. I would encourage you to stay on for the entire time. Again, we're going to try to keep this in respect of your time about 30 minutes. And again, do use the chat feature for questions. Thank you, Ebony. So to know who Divine Mercy University is, we're a Catholic graduate university comprised of two schools, the Institute for the Psychological Sciences and the School of Counseling. A very strong approach is that we are dedicated to the scientific study of psychology and counseling with a Catholic Christian understanding of the person, marriage, and family. We did change our name in 2015 to Divine Mercy University with the addition of the School of Counseling. Listed on the left are the two individuals this evening who will be doing the webinar, myself, Michele Drennen, and Dr. Anna Pecoraro. So to give you an idea of accreditation, which is always very important, Divine Mercy University is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges to award both master's and doctorate degrees. As you can see, we have two other accrediting bodies that are for our PsyD program only, and then the other two for our multiple programs. So one of the things that many of you this evening look at when you're looking at psychology in general or looking at it for a master's degree is determining, are you passionate about what you're doing for a living? Do you ever feel trapped, or maybe that you need more knowledge or more tools in your current role? Do you find yourself being a person that has and likes a passion to help others in need? That's often true, that you're that person that people come to. And if you had more tools in your toolbox, you may be able to help even more, whether in your church, your community, or in your life. And another thing is, could you use more critical thinking skills to elevate you to the next level, both in your personal and professional life? So at this juncture, I have the honor of presenting to you Dr. Anna Pecoraro, who is our guest speaker this evening on the webinar. Keep in mind, we have highly qualified professors at Divine Mercy University, and this is just one of them. Dr. Pecoraro is a licensed psychologist in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Virginia. In addition, she's worked as an addiction researcher with the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. While maintaining a private practice, she's very active on focusing on research and improving addictions treatment, forgiveness, human formation for seminarians, clergy, and others in ministry. And additionally, she focuses on faith integration and the arts in music and psychotherapy and applications in inner healing. She also earned her graduate degree in clinical psychology at the Institute for Graduate Clinical Psychology at Widener University. While still in graduate school, she completed the New Haven Psychoanalytic Fellowship Training Program offered at Yale, and her postdoctoral research was completed at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine in Philadelphia. Earning her MA in clinical psychology at the Institute for Graduate Clinical Psychology of Widener, her master's in ed at Human Sexuality Center for Education, Widener University, and also her bachelor's of music at Music Education Voice, Westminster Choir College at Rider University. She is also an associate fellow of the Albert Ellis Institute in New York and the former program director of Divine Mercy University's Master's in Psychology. She continues as an associate professor at DMU in the Psych D doctorate program and as a clinical advisor. We are very, very excited that she is also on the National Register of Health Service Psychologists. Dr. Pecoraro, welcome, and we thank you for your gift of time and knowledge.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. I'm really excited to talk with people that are thinking of applying, or maybe you've already applied to our wonderful online Masters in General Psychology program. It was a privilege to have been the program director for almost 2.5 years. I recently stepped down to take more of an active role in the doctoral program. But as the former program director, I really know the ins and outs of the program, and I can answer your questions later. But I'd just like to talk about what the MSP could do for you. And I will have a focus on how insight that you would gain into problematic behaviors, psychological problems, and mental disorders really is helpful. That's obviously not the only thing the MSP would give you, but that's a major piece of it. So the first competency that you would gain from the MSP is recognizing common psychological problems in human behavior. Now, why should you care about that? Well, everybody probably has somebody in their life that you're just thinking to yourself, why does that person do that? Or, I'm just going about my business, doing what I'm supposed to do, and this person is just going off. And you don't know what to do and respond. You don't know what's up with them, and you don't know what you can do to do what you need to do, get your job done, have a harmonious family relationship, if it's a family member or a relative. So one of the things that students have told me who have graduated is that the course that we have on common psych problems and their treatment really opened their eyes to a whole world that they were unaware of. And instead of being mystified by certain behaviors, certain problems, certain attitudes that they encounter in colleagues, or, if you're in ministry or you're a priest, religious, or consecrated person, you can actually really benefit from knowing when somebody has something that could potentially be a diagnosable psychological disorder. And it's just, people have reported that this is one of the most powerful things, to be able to recognize these problematic patterns and know when somebody should be referred to a licensed mental health professional. The second competency is that this program will teach you how to relate in a positive way to distressed individuals. Now, we all know that many distressed people can be difficult to get along with or interact with successfully. They're not all difficult in terms of social interactions, but many of them really truly are. And we teach active and reflective listening and compassion based most fundamentally on appreciating the human dignity of the other person. And really, basically, from a Catholic Christian perspective, seeing Christ in them. So we teach our students to really see Christ crucified in the suffering, and that helps them to feel compassion. And then the scientific psychological angle is that we will teach you how to do active listening micro skills, such as reflections, summaries, that type of thing. And then you'll have a game plan of, this is how I talk to this person. I don't just give advice. I show I'm listening, and they feel heard, and then they feel better. So another competency that you are going to get is that you will understand why people behave as they do to a great extent. Obviously not as much as a clinical psychologist or a counseling psychologist, but you will understand it, and then you can develop plans to effectively help other people. Now, this shouldn't be taken to say that because you're on the scene, somebody who needs professional help shouldn't go for that professional help. But if it's someone in your life, like a child, let's say you're a parent, or let's say you're a teacher, you have a disruptive child in the class, you will be able to make some type of plan some type of organized thinking written down that you can easily implement to make the situation better, at least. Fourth competency is that you're going to be able to critically analyze and use relevant research. How many times a day do we hear sound bites on the radio or the internet, or we see them on a blog or in a newspaper, in a magazine, and it says, research says, ... But how many of us actually go back to the original research study and critically think about that and say, is this just a bunch of garbage? Have they cheated on their statistics? Does their experimental design support their conclusions? Probably not very many of us. But by doing this program, you will actually begin to understand how to critique research and make an intelligent decision as to whether you want to believe what they're claiming they found. Now, the fifth competency is that you will learn to apply diversity principles in leadership, and this will be informed by the Catholic Christian vision of the human person. So diversity principles in leadership are very, very important nowadays. Society is very, very conscious of diversity and diversity issues. And really, to be competent as a leader, we also need to be. The sixth one is understanding the potential effects of crisis situations, disasters, and other trauma-causing events. That's very important. Many people are walking around very wounded from various abuses or serious negative events that they've suffered. And if we can understand the effects of these things on people, we can help to get them help. We can also be more compassionate towards them. Now, the seventh competency, again, is using statistical analyses to understand people and groups. And that's linked to the fourth one. But this is very important because let's say once you get your master's degree, you're a program director or something, you're in charge of people. You want to be able to collect data and analyze it to give reports to your boss. Or maybe you're a CEO. Maybe you need to analyze it for yourself so you know how to make good decisions that will keep your mission going. Very important. The eighth thing that I would say about the degree, well, it's not a competency, is that it's designed to be entirely online. And this is very important because many working professionals, many stay-at-home parents, many clergy, religious, and consecrated people are just too busy to drive an hour each way to a classroom on a Wednesday night, or even to go on a residency. Some online programs have residency requirements, such as our counseling program. There are people that they just, they can't do that for whatever reason. But our degree is 100% online, and the format actually makes it so you don't have to be in the classroom at a certain time. You're signing into the classroom when you want. Now, the ninth thing that you'll be able to do is, again, to evaluate the legitimacy of claims about behavior and human functioning and research. That is similar to the fourth one. And then number 10 is really important. And this one comes from the study of social psychology and leadership. So this one is understanding and putting that understanding into applied behavior in organizations. So basically, social situations can be very, very confusing to a lot of people. And by studying social psychology, and by studying personality psychology, and by studying common psychological problems and their treatment, you will be equipped in a very powerful way to read people, to read situations, to read groups, to read politics in groups, pinpoint patterns and problems and things like that, and then ask yourself, if so-and-so is a narcissist, for example, how might I interact effectively with him or her? How will they see what I'm going to say to them? Is that going to get the effect that needs to happen or not? Very powerful stuff. Now, number 11, again, is the insight into problematic behaviors, psychological problems, and mental disorders. And this, I spoke about this before, but I'll speak about it also from a ministry standpoint, because I know that many of our prospective applicants, and our applicants are priests, religious, and consecrated, or lay people that work in ministry or volunteer in ministry. If you have a person that is coming to you for pastoral care, they're in a crisis or something, and you notice certain things about their behaviors, you would be able to have a rough idea of, does this person need professional mental health assistance? And what type of diagnosis do they possibly have? Now, this master's doesn't qualify you to be a clinician or to make diagnoses. By law, only licensed mental health professionals can diagnose mental disorders, but you will have a very good idea. And once you have that idea, you will be able to get the person help by sending them to the appropriate professional. Or you will, again, have an idea of what you can say that will be productive. And also, for some disorders, you will realize that trying too hard with that person might have diminishing returns until you get them help. So you can essentially save yourself time potentially lost otherwise. Now, helping yourself is number 12. So a lot of our graduates have said to me, you know, Dr. Anna, this program has benefited me personally. This program has helped me to recognize difficulties in myself. This program has helped me to deal with things that I have not been able to understand for years. Now, it's important to note that this program is not counseling. It's not therapy. We're not going to be your therapist, but learning psychology will help you to be honest with yourself. It'll help you to heal. Many people have said that they have gotten professional help as a result of realizing that they needed it through the program. And then another thing that's very important that I'd like to talk about is that this master's degree would help anyone that wants to go towards a PhD, an EdD, or a PsyD in counseling or psychology. What do I mean by that? Doctoral programs nowadays in those fields are highly competitive. So if you tried to get into one and you just didn't make it this time, this master's degree could really help you to show doctoral programs that you mean business and that you're competitive and that you can do it. Now, there's no guarantee that you would get into a doctoral program on the basis of this master's, but with decreasing space in most doctoral programs over the past 5 to 10 years, and it's only getting smaller because of lack of funding, I'm sure that a lot of those people on those admissions committees would rather select somebody that already has a master's degree. They can demonstrate that they can be successful in a graduate level program. I would also like to address very, very briefly some of the things that students have said regarding self-help. I know that I said that before, but I got some emails today from our most recent graduating class, and they mentioned that some of our emphasis on understanding cognition and thinking and the connection between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors have really enabled them to help themselves. And one in particular said that studying psychology actually helped her to go deeper in her spiritual life as a Catholic Christian. And what it did was that when she was honest with herself with the content of what she was learning in these classes, that honesty and that knowledge worked together to remove obstacles to intimacy with God for her. and to help her have great confidence and unbounded trust in God. So it's fascinating to work with this program and just see how people are transformed. And when they cooperate with the knowledge and with God's grace, great things happen. So with that said, I'll turn it back over to Michele, and I'll await the end. And if anybody has questions at the end, you can feel free to ask.
Thank you, Dr. Pecoraro, for those wonderful insights. I think it's very important really looking at the importance of life skills that do make you more successful in any endeavor in your life. It's amazing the background of people who both come to our webinars as well as attend our Masters in Psychology, and the diversity is fascinating. And again, it can be for your own personal development as a priest who needs more assistance in tending his flock or his parish. In the business world, you got to hold on to those folks that you hire and don't have turnover, and understanding that keeping people helps them be successful. Your own family. Certainly there are trials and tribulations in the world that weren't here 20 years ago. And as a consecrated person who's out there helping and healing all of these and more, there are many backgrounds that are on this call tonight. So we now have the opportunity to hear just a minute each of two recent graduates and students, and it's always good to hear what they have to say about the Masters in Psychology.
I had started a nonprofit with some friends, and I worked in case management. I saw a lot of psychology used in case management, and I felt that it was something that would strengthen what I could do to encourage the people that I work with. I would like to use it as a program to grow our little nonprofit, and I think that it will help me in hiring, and I think it will help me with our clientele, and to create new programs that are strengths and evidence-based, and I feel much more confident about that now. I was interested in getting a Master of Science in Psychology because I've always loved to try to understand what motivates human behavior and what helps people relate to one another. One of the wonderful things about this program is that it does integrate the Catholic Christian vision of the human person with the science of psychology. I learned about myself with the reflections and homework and the discussion boards. I was actually able to learn about things I needed to improve in myself, which has benefited me in my life, with my relationships, and with my work. I think the program teaches us to love and to be loved.
And this is actually a little explanation of how we deliver our degree in the online learning platform, which is called Canvas.
What I enjoyed most about the online learning experience was really being able to connect to my classmates and professors really throughout the country.
It allows me to continue to pursue other things, to live the flexible life that I need to live. Even though we were online, it didn't feel like we were online, so I really appreciate the beauty of this program. Being able to do work from a coffee shop, visiting someone in Florida, or with my family in New York has been a really cool gift. I've appreciated the online schooling, but also living in the world, getting a really good degree, and I'm really learning the things that I'm learning.
a lot of times people ask us if they're not going to use it in their current role, which most individuals coming through the Masters of Psychology do. They want more tools for their toolbox. They also like to be aware of, well, what jobs are out there that require a Master's in Psychology. So we pulled these from a very wonderful online job search program called Indeed.com. And so as you just look down through there, it's very interesting to see that community colleges often hire people who have a master's in psychology, intensive in-home program directors, people who are working, say, in emergency shelter situations as an executive director, because they know that if you have a psychology degree, you have the critical thinking skills that it needs to fill these roles. A few more we cited were like a psychiatric technician, a coordinator research and data analysis at Florida Gateway College, and perhaps a clinical research coordinator associate, and that was actually at Stanford. So there are roles out there just for having a degree in psychology. We are proud to share that Divine Mercy University's Master's in Psychology program, as I said, does qualify you for all the previous jobs and many more. And we do like to know that we are tops in the educational leaders in the psychology and counseling industry. So the ones that we are recognized by are the Editor's Choice for Best College Reviews, top online master's degrees, top online best value school programs, online psychology degrees and top master's degree programs, College Choice, and then on gradschools.com, #1 graduate school directory in the nation. We are ranked there as well. So just as a quick overview as we get to the final part of the webinar, a lot of people like to know, how is your Master's of Psychology delivered if it's a 100% online degree? Well, simplistically, it is indeed over the 2 years and 4 months that it takes, a 36 semester credit hour of coursework divided up between 30 credit hours in psychology, 6 credit hours in philosophy and theology. And stop and think a minute about your previous education. With Divine Mercy's online Master's in Psychology, you only take 1 course every 8-week term. So obviously you dig very deeply into the subject matter. A very realistic vision that I like to give students who enter the program is that there is a reality of at least 2 more hours each day probably added to your life's work. So it does take commitment, family support, parish support, work support to know that you're adding something to your table. But you're adding something to your table that is really going to nourish both your spirit and your soul and your education track. Because many of our people, almost all of our people, are working full-time, many in parishes, many as missionaries, many in demanding jobs, there's always 1 month off in the summer and the entire month of December to be able to breathe, to have family time, sometimes go on sabbaticals. And so that's why we state it's 2 years and 4 months to graduate, but it's really only 2 years in time studied, because over the course of that year, you have approximately 4 months off. We can't repeat enough that the Master's in Psychology is 100% online graduate program, and it is not a licensure track degree for aspiring mental health clinicians. We never like to have that confused. The Master's in Psychology does focus on educating working professionals from all backgrounds by giving us solid, practical human tools they need in psychology, in life and work and faith. So how are these subjects and how are they delivered? Predominantly, as I mentioned, we're looking at only 1 course over an 8-week period. And many times when people look down through there, they look at courses and they say, oh, this would really benefit me in my current job or in some of my goals and what I want to do. Leading to the crescendo of the symphony of the capstone, which you start considering very early on of what you're going to write. And a few weeks ago, I actually attended graduation at the Basilica in Washington, D.C. And it was amazing to see the topics of the actual capstones. And it's really the beautiful ending to a lot of knowledge and wisdom that's gained. As I mentioned, we have many very qualified instructors and professors, and those are all available online with their backgrounds. But they've been many years of experience both as clinical psychologist professionals and professors, And Kathleen Dudemain, PhD, is now the Master's in Psychology Program Director now that Dr. Pecoraro has changed her role. So what do we apply these skills to? As the vision of Dr. Pecoraro painted, you can be very functioning in management at all levels and all venues. If you're in marketing and market research, those require psychology of people's buying motives. Human resources, you got to retain good talent. Staff evaluations and employee training. Reading those individuals as to how they can really impact each other, your life, and being able to direct them to the appropriate places they need to go. Project management and research and program effectiveness projects can all be areas where the MSP skills can be applied. Also, as mentioned, there is a very high percentage of our student body who are in the roles, as you can read there, pastors, spiritual directors, vocational discernment, seminaries that promote our priests staying in seminary and going on to help the world. Many priests, religious laity, deliverance ministries, catechists, religion teachers, so many individuals in many backgrounds are coming through the Master's in Psychology program. Other roles, and we have seen people, as mentioned by the one student, even not in nonprofits, go out and open up opportunities for crisis pregnancy centers, pro-life ministries, individuals that are leading retreats, directors of formation for diocese seminaries, officials that are responsible for clergy placement, as well as our youth. Our youth, we find that a lot of our missionaries and people who are working with youth have really benefited from having the Master's in Psychology to grow the future with the youth that we have in the world today. So how would a person be accepted to Divine Mercy University? The only first requirement is to have a baccalaureate degree, and that can be in any subject, but it does have to be from a regionally accredited or international recognized school. Your minimum GPA must be 2.5 or better. Most of our students come in higher than that, but we do have a good GPA to get the right people in there. Must fully complete and submit all the admissions documents, which is explained to you in an interview. And have an opportunity to complete financial packaging, whereas you can actually apply for 3 different scholarships throughout the 2 years you're there, 1 each year. And so the other piece is that all that information goes to the admissions acceptance committee, and then we have a wonderful 12, 14-hour orientation that helps an individual understand what they're going to be doing with our platform of Canvas, and hits the ground running for those students who say would start in our August 22nd fall class. The original transcripts are required at some point by both international and US students. And the only codicil for international students is sometimes their transcripts have to be evaluated. And if they are not first language English, they might have to take a TOEFL test. So it's very structured and very has a process to get an individual put into the program that is really interested and motivated. Cost of the program, your investment in yourself. We often say that you look at the fact that over 2 years it runs just a little under $14,000 per year, $751 times 36 credits. That's inclusive of books. It's inclusive of just about everything because we use all kinds of learning modes throughout there. There's only other one type of fee, and that's a tech fee that's $50 over the 12 courses. One of the things that's kind of exciting, because you've sat in on the presentation this evening, if you were to decide this was a route for you, your application fee is actually waived because of your courtesy and your gift of time in attending the webinar this evening. So that's important to a lot of people that, oh, I can just fill out that application and not have to pay an application fee this time. So that's your total investment. And as I said, we do welcome all questions as we come to the close here. And I pretty much mentioned how that works. You complete a multi-part online application. Within 48 hours, financial counseling contacts you to get your essays written for the transcripts. All of that is submitted to the admissions committee. And once you're approved, you get a letter, and then you go through orientation, and you hit the ground running in your online. And I think it's very important to realize one other thing Dr. Pecoraro said as well. You do not have to be on the computer at a specific time every day. You are the discipline. Your time frame is 5 to 7 a.m. in the morning. That's when you need to do your threads and your tests and your quizzes. But if it's from 10 to 12 at midnight, and that's your best time. So it does take that discipline, but it does, I think, just become a beautiful part of your day. So we like to give a little snapshot of some of the scholarships that are available, and that's pretty exciting from the vantage point that there are 3 out of about 14 different scholarships. This is just 6 of them. That if you put your pen to paper and write those essays, you can get part or all of some of those scholarships. So it's very important to be very cooperative with financial aid as far as getting those back by deadlines, and it can really help the affordability of you getting your graduate degree. And we're proud to say that last year alone, we gave out over $614,000 worth of scholarships and grants to help our students lower tuition. Our president of Divine Mercy University, Father Charles Sikorsky, says, we know that one person will graduate from this program and go out and impact the lives of 100. I can't thank you enough for sitting here this evening and getting this information and hoping that it really will be of value to you. We're a little bit over. So we would like to, Ebony, if there's any questions out there on chat that Dr. Pecoraro can answer, we'll get those taken care of.
I don't see any questions. I have seen different comments. One person said they're going to share it with their kids. And I just let everybody know that you can still make comments on our chat if you would like to ask Dr. Pecoraro. I see one is coming in actually right now, Miss Howard. Okay, her question is, what about the PhD program?
Okay, so currently Divine Mercy University does not have a PhD program. It has a PsyD program in clinical psychology. The PsyD program is accredited by the American Psychological Association. The difference between a PsyD and a PhD degree is that the PsyD degree is a clinically focused degree. In other words, those people, and I'm one of them, because I have a PsyD, actually receive more clinical training than people with PhDs. The PhDs receive more research training than clinical training. And of course, PhDs in psychology could be in any field of psychology, whereas a PsyD in psychology is usually only in clinical, counseling, or school psychology. Our PsyD program is a clinical psychology doctorate. Have I answered your question, Ms. Howard?
She said yes.
Oh, great. Okay.
And she wants more information. We'll be sure to send that out to you and get someone to answer all your questions that you may have. Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Pecoraro or have any questions about the program? All right, so one question is...
I think that refers to the grade point average, Ebony.
Yes, it says, you said 2.5 for Latino America. What's the note? I'm not exactly sure what that means, but could you speak to grade point averages?
Or you can go back to that slide if you'd like.
Yes,
right.
It's a GPA. It's a GPA, yeah. 2.5. Right. Now we have, 2.75. Minimum 2.5. 2.75 is more competitive. We actually have admitted people that were slightly under the 2.5, but those were only cases in which the person had very impressive achievements after college, or when they had extreme extenuating factors in college. So if your GPA is less than 2.5, please still apply, and we'll do the best we can.
Okay, they left a comment that says Camilla. She left a comment that they have a different grading scale. So the thing would be making sure you submit everything and they can see how that grade point scale matches with the U.S. Grade point scale.
Yes, we use an evaluation service. That's part of what I do with admissions, is send those transcripts from international, and we do it every day, all day. Send it to a assessor who indicates, okay, this is what the GPA is, this is how it works out, this is how it's translated. So please don't let that keep you from going forward, because as Dr. Pecoraro said, you can then write your letter of intent or the reason that you want to come through, show some other accomplishments on your application, and you still may be able to get in. So don't let that hold you back until those transcripts are evaluated.
All right, and we'll leave just a few more moments for people to have last minute questions. And Camilla says, gracias. Thanks. You're welcome.
De nada. I don't speak Spanish. I speak Italian.
Pas de quoi, I speak French. So I think it's exciting when you don't have a lot of questions, because that means we've done a fairly good job of answering all the questions. But boy, once again, we thank everyone for attending this evening. So.
Yes, I'll be looking forward to seeing you in my classes.
And thank you again, Dr. Pecoraro. That was very valuable. Appreciated it so much.
Sure, my pleasure. Okay, I hope everybody has a lovely night.